Yeah, back on the SportsMax Zone as we chat cricket now. West Indies women have taken an unassailable 2-0 series lead over their Bangladesh counterparts after comfortably winning the second of 3 T20 internationals by a massive 106 runs at Warner Park in St. Kitts and Nevis on Wednesday night. Centre-back, the Caribbean side posted a mammoth 201 for 6, their second highest ever score in T20 internationals. Kiana Joseph notched her second half-century in the format to lead the Windies batting with 63. Dottin fell one short of back-to-back half-centuries as she smashed 49 of just 20 deliveries. Faima Khatun was the pick of the Bangladeshi bowlers with 3 for 38. In reply, the visitors provided little resistance as they were easily limited to 95 for 9 of their 20 overs. There were 2 wickets apiece for captain Hayley Matthews, Cherian Fraser and Afi Fletcher. Good stomping there.
Respond after our first one, I thought, and the girls were fantastic tonight. A really good performance. You might see a few changes in the next game, and now the series is taken care of, I think, yeah, you'll probably see a few changes in that batting order. But yeah, Ghaznavi was fantastic. You know, she's had limited opportunities, but to see her come out and play so freely like that, switch hitting and all sorts of things, she did a great job. I thought Glasgow was terrific as well. So the more we see of that, the more encouragement we're going to get to give them more opportunities, which is what we want to see.
Yeah, Damien right there, the West Indies women's assistant coach, speaking about the outstanding performance last night and specifically taking a look at some of the younger players in the unit. Now, the player of the match, Kiana Joseph, stroked 9 fours and 2 sixes in her score of 63. Yes, she really does pack a punch, and she spoke with the media post-match.
It's an awesome feeling. Before going to the middle, I just went with a mentality to just beat ball, play ball on the merit, you know, just express myself out there and enjoy myself. Actually, it was a great batting pitch. The ball was coming onto the bat quite nicely, and I just ended up just playing 3D shots when I got the ball.
Yeah, in England, it's called baseball. In the Caribbean, it's called beat ball. Started by Dottin and now continued by Kiana Joseph, and pretty soon the men's teams will be adapting it as well. Nikhil Tamchandani, he doesn't know how to beat anything. He joins us to recap last night's action. Nikhil, how are you doing this afternoon? All is well?
Very well, Ricardo. I don't understand how I be catching strays. What do you mean I don't know how to beat anything? I was decent in my school days, you know, a decent wicketkeeper batter.
Yeah, that's why you're a commentator now.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Let's talk about cricket, and let's talk about the performance of the West Indies women last night. Excellent performance. Bangladesh won the toss and they chose to field. Did that surprise you, first of all, and then assess the batting performance from the Caribbean women?
Yeah, it did surprise me a little bit. I don't know if the report they got, and obviously I'm not on the ground to see, but I don't know if they felt maybe the Jew factor would come in a bit later, and with that, it would get a bit easier to bat on. But I think what we've seen in 2 games at Warner Park is it's very good for batting. It's very conducive to high run scoring, and you're going to get value for your shots. It's a quick outfield. And I want to credit the West Indies because I know they chased 212 last year in Australia, but I looked in 86 first innings since the history of T20 international cricket when they started in 2008. They had never posted 200 plus in a T20I game. And I think if we want to get big scores and post 200 plus, it has to start somewhere, even if people will say Bangladesh are not as strong as a bowling unit as other teams around the world. It's a habit. And I think credit to Shane Dietz as well. What Kiana Joseph is saying there, beat ball, the celebration she did to him when she got to the 50, I think he's also given them a flexibility and freedom that has unlocked a different energy within the West Indies women's side. We saw it at the World Cup, and we're seeing it carry over into the T20Is at least.
Yeah, and we certainly saw it in the India series as well, which the Windies Women lost by 2-1. The batting side, they never stopped going at the bowlers. Of course, better quality India bowling, so you didn't get those 200-plus scores. But let's talk about Kiana Joseph, because, you know, already I am seeing the conversation about her getting a pick for the WPL, that's the Women's Premier League, the female version of the IPL. And I find the discussion fascinating, Nikhil, and I just wanted to know what you feel, if you would be surprised if come the WPL that Kiana did not have a contract.
Where did you see that discussion, Ricardo?
A lot of places on social media.
Fair enough. Listen,
including in St. Lucia.
Oh, okay, nice. Well, the reason I asked fans and viewers, the reason I asked Ricardo that is because I told him that today in a WhatsApp chat. I said a team, a WPL team, if they're smart, needs to get on the phone and give Kiana Joseph a call. And the reason I'm saying that is, look, I don't think she's anywhere close to finished product, but what she does have is the raw materials to be a T20 juggernaut. And I'm saying that because of the power she possesses, her ability to find the boundary, and I think she's an investment. If a WPL team can bring the level of professionalism that you get in India to her game, whether it comes to her fitness, when it comes to her all-round game being a quality or a work in progress in terms of a project as a left-arm spinner, I think she is an all-round package. It reminds me a lot of Chris Gayle, which is why I'm going to say RCB, who have just lost Sophie Devine, who's taken a break from international cricket. Come on, call up Kiana Joseph. The WPL is on SportsMax. The Caribbean wants to see Kiana Joseph in full form. So, yeah, RCB made the call. I would be surprised if she doesn't get a replacement deal, given how well she's batted in India, remember, a month ago, and now in this series.
Yeah, would the fitness issues, her ability to run between the wickets consistently, impact or affect her ability to get such a deal?
I think probably in a way it would, because teams in the WPL will look at and say these are the best bowlers in the world. You know, you're going to have to work a lot harder for your runs, and then all stadiums won't be worn apart. But I do think what she possesses, similar to DeAndre Dottin, is that power ability. And not a lot of players in the women's game, there are plenty that have it, but not everyone has that element. And I think that raw material is hard to replicate for especially a lot of Indian players who are mainly touch players and wristy players and sweep the ball and try to find gaps. So I can't see why a team wouldn't want to invest in her, even if they bring her for the first season and she doesn't play much. But just to be around that professionalism, I think would do her game a world of good, but also for that team, I think they'd be getting maybe in 2 years' time someone a lot closer to a finished product that could be one of the better all-rounders in the T20 game.
Yeah, and you know, as we're talking about ball striking and those shots and hard hitting, again, DeAndre Dottin comes into the conversation. She just keeps getting better. 49 of 20 balls, Nikhil. She was also like a beautiful sight to watch, especially if you love Windies women's cricket.
Yeah, certainly, Mariah. I looked at her record at Warner Park. 12 innings in T20 cricket, averaging 40, 100 and a couple of 50s. It's astounding the way she strikes the ball and pretty much the confidence. It's like that ground is her backyard. I think she also has a very good record at Providence in Guyana as well. But the confidence, I mean, 3 balls in, across the line, bam, 6, and just continuing. It's like she walks in with an authority that she almost owns the bowling attack. And again, you know, people would look at her position in that batting order and say, well, when Hayley Matthews gets out, you know, she has to sort of be cautious and maybe that serves as extra pressure. But I think it's a Shane Dietz thing where he's told her, we want Kiana Joseph, the players that do have that power aspect, to just be as fearless as possible. And it's not going to come off sometimes, but the times that it does, like we've seen in the 2 T20Is, you know, it really comes off and they cause serious impact for that West Indies batting and detriment for the bowling attacks that they face.
Yeah, and as you mentioned bowling, I was really impressed with Cherry-Ann Fraser. Cherry, I've looked at her throughout the CPL. You know, she's had her struggling periods as well. But for this series that we have against Bangladesh, Cherry has really stepped up to the plate. And at one point in the match, she had figures of like 2 for 5, and she was, you know, on to get her next one. So really good stuff from her. And, I'm looking at her very, very closely as well, Nikhil, to watch her improve. What are your thoughts on Cherry?
I think she is a very important project for the West Indies, Mariah. Given her ability to bowl the new ball, she's getting some late movement. All 3 of her overs yesterday were in the power play. What I appreciate about the way this has come out, or the result of this situation, is the way she's been managed, really. Mm-hmm. I think admin deserve credit. Shane Deeks would have had a part to play, so I'm going to give him credit as well. The leadership group, because many will remember she was in the West Indies team. And last year she went wicketless in 6 T20Is. Was then dropped for the World Cup, which I was quite surprised about, because I think she's, with her batting and her fielding and then obviously the bowling, I think she's an asset to West Indies cricket. But the way they handled her after that World Cup, sending her to Australia with the same Damien Wright and 4 other bowlers in that high-performance setup, she's come back a different bowler. And I thought she was a little full in the power play, and maybe against the Englands, Australias, Indias, they pounced on that a bit more. But for the conditions and for what the West Indies require in that team, I think she could be a massive asset with her new ball bowling to pair alongside Chanel Henry and the spin of James and Matthews in the power play specifically. So I'm glad to see her bowling the new ball in this game. In the first T20I, it was the back of the hand slower balls that was really impressive at the back end.
Yeah, really good stuff from her, and also really good work in the field, because it always disappoints me when there are, drop catches and, you miss the opportunity to run out a player. But yesterday they were on fire, and I saw a lot of improvement from game 1 into game 2, and I'm looking now for an improvement in game 3. What are some of the areas, Nikhil, if you just had to pinpoint that they need to work on for game 3?
Well, Mariah, I want to talk about the fielding quickly, if you don't mind. I'm obviously learning about the game. I have so much to learn. And being here in South Africa, I listened to Faf du Plessis talk about his team the other day. And he said, when a team is fielding well, it's always an indication of where that team is at. And I think I remembered instantly watching the game, the first T20I, when I came on the show. And the West Indies dropped a number of catches. There were overthrows. It was a sloppy performance. Compare and contrast that to what we saw yesterday. It looks like a team that is molding a lot better together. They've developed a chemistry. And the run out from Afi Fletcher, the few brilliant catches from Fraser and James, it was exceptional to see the athleticism in the field. And you look at Australia, the best team in the world, that is what they do so well. So we need to continue to aspire there. In terms of improvements, again, I would still like to see maybe a bit more strike rotation and precision from, the West Indies in the middle overs. Kiana Joseph, only 5 of her boundaries in the series out of 16 have come in the offside. I know she's working on it, but I hope, Mariah, that we can look at a few areas in this series and say we're not going to settle even if we beat Bangladesh 3-0. We're going to go into the Women's Super 50, and each player individually is going to look at what they can do better and make that the point of focus regionally and domestically. That's eventually how we're going to become one of the best teams in the world. Everyone taking that responsibility. But I think not much to critique because they've been excellent. I would probably just say a bit more strike rotation in the middle. I think the bowling at the back end has improved and is continuing to improve.
Yeah, Nikhil, one of the things we had discussed earlier on in this series, not just the T20s, but some of the other players getting a platform to be developed. We saw Zayda James and Cherry-Ann Fraser with a new ball yesterday. You just spoke about Cherry-Ann Fraser and so on. But we also saw Ghaznavi getting a better than runner ball, 24 not out. In fact, her strike rate was almost 200.
200.
Yeah. Right. So, and assistant coach Damien Wright spoke about the fact that he was happy to see her getting an opportunity. How satisfied are you that there is a platform for some of these other players, not Hayley Matthews, not Deandra Dottin, not Shemaine Campbell, to be given more room and opportunities to develop, because that really is where the team can be strengthened?
Yeah, Lance, it's an interesting one. And I think yesterday I appreciated that Deandra Dottin didn't bowl an over in the game because you had such a sizable total on the board and you knew you had a bit more buffer and luxury. I like that they gave a few others opportunities to bowl. It's funny because, there was so much entertainment and excitement in Kiana Joseph and Dottin. The most excited I got was when Shabika Ghaznavi turned around and played that switch hit, because I've not seen anything like that in West Indies women's cricket in a long time. That innovation she showed, she literally hit 2 boundaries on exact opposites of the field. It was refreshing to see, and I hope that, and again, it's a fine line because you want to keep winning, you want to win series, but a game like coming up in a couple of days' time, I hope that the coaching staff can use these games, and I know you've always talked about it, in pushing the likes of James and Gajnabi up the order, because James did it in India, and now Gajnabi is doing it in this series. They're showing that if they are back, there is a bit of ability in there with bat in hand, and it's probably just more platform and chance to show that ability and skill set. But the way she came in, knowing that the West Indies wanted to push on the score, they had just lost 2 quick wickets and both set batters, and were able to push them, the entire lower order really, push them past the 200 mark. I thought it was really impressive. And the stroke play, the manipulation of the field, it shocked me because I've seen her bat a number of times, but I didn't know she was capable of that. So I think very encouraging.
All right, Nikhil Uttamtanjani, thank you very much for joining us on the SportsMax Zone. We're looking forward to the sweep from the West Indies women tomorrow. Not too sure about the reverse, but we'll see how it all unfolds. Nikhil, take care as usual, man.
This guy with these dad jokes, brother. It's shocking.
Let's go to a break. We'll be back with more
He's not
on the
impressed with
SportsMax
your jokes.
Zone. He's lying.